cyber defense, preparedness, and resilience, and he co-authored Washington State's Cyber Response Annex and has facilitated numerous public discussions on community cybersecurity. He is currently the director of exercises at Norwich University Applied Research Institutes. He is a founding member of the Cyber Incident Response Coalition for Analysis and Sharing. And it leverages cybersecurity professionals from academia, government, and industry. He's retired from the military and is continuing his efforts to secure critical functions and community lifelines through education, outreach, and exercises. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks. Let me hop over here.
Am I live on this? Yeah. I hate being tethered. I might grab this thing and move around a little bit. So I got asked to do this yesterday. So I came down here because my friend Chas Jens, he's a PSA. You guys know him, but he's my buddy Chas. We were scouts together long time ago, younger bodies and all that. So I work at this place. You can read that. Academic nonprofit. And so if you hear stuff that sounds like I'm selling something, I'm probably not, but I'm probably try and talk you into something. All right, so go and read through that. 501c3. A lot of DHS work, some NSA things related to schools. So Centers for Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity, does that ring a bell with anybody here, like the students in cybersecurity? Right. So we've done 15 exercises for the CAE program under Lynn Clark, right? She's funded those. The last one we just did a few weeks ago was a national level one. That was fun, which was cool because some of the ones before weren't quite as much fun. And that one was that was really cool because everybody showed up to play and had a really good time. It's really neat when you finish an exercise and you literally have to kick everybody out of the call after 3.5 hours. That is fun. So this is what we do. I worked this around. Did I miss anybody that's in this list or does something else?
I work for a research organization.
Okay.
So work kind of.
What do you research?
We do psychology research.
Okay. You know, part of the stuff that we did for the stuff with the students was trying to look at workforce development, right? Think about what colleges and universities are trying to do from a practical perspective. Forget about the ivory tower stuff for a second, because it's super important, don't get me wrong. So we do have to look out at what's happening next, but we're just trying to get those defenders. Earmuffs for a second. Remember I was talking about it's not this place and blinking green lights, but sometimes it is. And we need people that are worried about the this place and blinking green lights. We're looking at workforce development, and we're trying to look at models of actually looking at evidence of competency. And so 4 of those exercises related to coming up with a model on that. We use an exercise to quickly look at people in a situation under pressure and whether they were able to evidence competency or not, and whether you're so there's a way to do it. All right, so there's this thing we're involved in, it's the National Cybersecurity Preparedness Consortium. Why do you care? Well, free courses. Free the same way that Chas was talking about free stuff this morning when he said, hey, we're free, and I started snickering at the back of the room. Well, it's free meeting.
It's a nationwide thing that was planned for today, right?
That's 2 weeks early. We had 11:20.
They really didn't like me saying that it wasn't free. So, but free is in already paid for. And it's colleges and universities that do different things and get courses that are approved for FEMA use or for other use. And you're going to get these slides will be up. Don't take notes on this stuff. That's why it's on the slide. just listen to what we talk about as a group and take notes on that. That's what's important. So you take a look at that. TEACS is fairly well known. If you're in emergency management, you can take some other, some really cool courses. We do some really good ones around law enforcement. And then I and some other folks are writing ones related to exercises for Newar. You can see some of the other ones that are there. So this is the one I'm writing. And you can see in the top right, it talks about what the title is. So you can see there's some interest. So when I was asked last night, hey, can you step in and talk? We both started giggling because basically we're known for, it's not tough to get us talking. What is it tough, Chas? It's tough to
Get us to stop.
get us to stop. So I was like, yeah, what are we going to talk about? So something about exercises, okay. Well, I'm writing this one because there's a need to integrate into the existing exercise series that people already have. And I just say, well, you're already doing them. So I'm going to show you what we do there. And you can see, you emergency management professionals, look familiar to you? Pull down the slides. It'll be better than your picture, but those whiz wheels should look familiar. The top one, for those of you who don't do this for a living, is all about preparedness. We're talking about communities, right? The top whiz wheel is about being prepared as a community. Part of being prepared now comes through. All right. It does get through do not disturb, by the way. It just takes a little bit. Is being resilient. Let me ask you a question. And I actually want answers. What is resilience? We have a whole summit today on it. And I want you to help out the emergency management people because I'm gonna actually ask them directly in a second. But somebody who's not emergency management, what is resilience? I'm gonna ask the psychology researcher in a second. What's resilience?
The ability to recover from
That sounds really good. Okay, let's refine a little bit. Cool. We're recovering from that trauma. I felt. Did you feel it? Okay. Ooh, okay. So, but if you think about recovering right there, by what definition? What does recovery mean? We've got to give it some context here. So what does it mean? Being resilient, recovering back to what?
To a norm or a safe.
A norm. Again? Oh, evidently I speak Spanish as well. I didn't know that. So a norm. I like how you said a. But let's talk to the emergency management folks about what resilience means in terms of statute and funding. What does resilience mean in terms of what you're going to get reimbursed for? What does it mean?
So it has to fit into your category, like preparedness. So that's how you get reimbursement. But there's also, I heard some interesting, like ADRs that talk about the load resilience doesn't translate very well to other languages, and so I think there'll be a move away from using that term resilience. I think progress.
Yeah, I don't care if we call it Skippy's good idea, but the concept of it is neat. And so if we just wrap our brains around resilience, I will argue that the existing constructs are what I call it engineering resilience, or Chumbawamba tub thumping resilience, right? I get knocked down, but I get up again. Which is actually about anarchy, by the way. Really weird. But it's getting back to the same normal, because that's the one that's defined. That's the one that's programmatic, not to put on my CIO hat again. But that's the one that is funded by statute. That's the one they want you to go back to. So there's this Midwestern town, doesn't matter, you fly over there every time you go back east. But they got hit with a tornado, and it wiped out what was a dead downtown. Wiped it out. But the funding came in to do what? Rebuild the dead downtown. That doesn't seem very smart, does it? They actually had meetings, and they talked about what do we want to be when we grow up. And they managed to, and I don't know how, divert the funding to rebuild in a different manner. A new normal. So what is resilience? So think through what that is. And then why would I spend so much time on that word? Why do you think I spent so much time on that word? I'm on slide like 3 or 4. Why did I spend time on that word?
Level set our discussion.
Yeah, because we say it, but we don't think about what it means. If you don't think about what it means, how are you ready to plan for it? Yeah, Chief.
So, I mean, we're talking about recovery a lot, so your ability to bounce back despite adversity. But I think if we were talking, we wanted to say recovery, we would use that term. I think we're also talking about being able to function despite the adversity and continue to function while it's happening.
Yeah, are you a responder or a victim? I was doing an exercise with, 2 exercises with Illinois within the past year. One went the whole way up to the state level and was a fantastic example of the entire state saying, we're gonna do this. And when a mayor of a city shows up to the kickoff and plays the entire exercise, the emergency management director plays the entire exercise, the Homeland Security advisor plays the entire exercise, you know you're in for something cool. Well, this one was actually just for the University of Illinois and Champaign-Urbana. So imagine UO and your surrounding city and county are in an exercise together. And I listened to their emergency management folks, and it happened to be their 911 person. And the scenario we'd written just wasn't enough to knock them down. And I know a thing or two about, I used to be the CIO for the military department up north here, and so I was responsible for the 68 PSAPs in the state. And so I know a little bit thing about how to take them out. And so I threw one thing at them. And I threw another. And I threw another. And I couldn't put them down. They refused to be victims. That's resilience. It was never about recovery because I couldn't take them down. So think through that. And the way they had gotten there was a couple different ways. A lot of it was the way they exercised. They broke it before it was actually broken through a few different ways of getting there. So this is why I feel pretty comfortable about talking about this topic. It's what I do now. Yeah, for a few decades I was in uniform and we did all kinds of different exercises, right? But Nuari, through different funding and looking very hard at energy, we talked PG&E, and then a bunch of energy over 4 years. And then we did transportation, and we did the CAE stuff, and Senior Military College, NRECA, the National Rural Electric Co-op Association. We're actually on our 4th exercise with them. We're going to do next month. This is why we can say that. We do it on this. The picture to the right is actually one of our senior military colleges, the Citadel. I'll be there in 2 weeks. And this is one of the fantastic examples of doing an exercise with undergraduates and getting the next generation of people that are going to keep the bits, bytes, and blinking green lights actually green, which I normally hand wave over that as being not that important. Well, except that it is. And in here, they were emulating a board of a small imaging company that had competition faced with, frankly, an existential threat And they're undergraduates, they've been all about bid flights and blicky green lights. And now they're faced with, I'm a CEO, I'm a CFO, I'm a CIO. And there were built-in friction points that they had to work through. There was no what server to bring up. There's none of that. That's what they were working through. It's really kind of cool. The solutions that they came up with that frankly, older people would never have considered. Like, let's take all of this money and just go to Aruba. Okay, hadn't considered that. Kind of cool. We do it on a platform. That's the neat part of it. But frankly, the way that we get there is using the Homeland Security Exercise Evaluation Programs as steps. We don't reinvent the wheel. Okay, why exercises? Why cyber? Go ahead and read that real quick. For those of you who aren't in emergency management or don't do exercises, there is a way of doing this. The folks in emergency management are now yawning. No, sorry. This is a great way to not spend a lot of money to try things out. There are two basic ways of doing it. Talk about it, and then when you're ready, you actually really kind of test it out and operate at different levels to see whether it's working and doing what you need it to do. That's a little more expensive. And you're trying to do that so that you don't get a Katrina, which not only broke that area, it broke the way we do emergency management. I will argue it broke FEMA. All right. Anybody curious about why we do cyber? Do I really have to sell doing cyber exercises to anybody in this room? I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I'm going to start doing this. Okay, fair. Risks. Anybody ever seen this Drucker quote before? Okay, if you haven't, Drucker. So I spent more than a few years creating strategy, writing policy. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Your corporate culture doesn't care what your strategy is. It doesn't care what your policy is, what your regulations are, what training you did last week. It doesn't care. So when you're looking at, hey, I want to start incorporating cyber into my exercises, if you don't have a champion, you're going to have a hard time. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Just be aware you're going to have a hard time. Be honest about it and go find a champion. Navel gazing. Who knows what navel gazing is and why I think it's an issue? What the term means. You know what navel gazing means as a term? So when this first started coming in emergency management, started considering the problem, they started looking at their systems. Yeah, what if WebOC goes down? And I went, I don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Is the incident commander on site? Are we getting resources to the IC? Are we able to provide area command? Yeah, but I'm only on my phone. Yes. We have to get extra people. This is really hard. But I can't track this. I know. This is really hard. But it became about them. They became the victim. They weren't resilient. I'm not saying don't run exercises to make sure you can operate in degraded conditions first. But get out of thinking about yourself and think about what is your job. So my job as an emergency manager isn't just to do operations in this room. It's to provide, frankly, resources to people that are actually doing the response. And flips the bit. It isn't, oh my gosh, wow, building 17 on Camp Murray is still operating. Oh, great, I don't care if it's a smoking hole in the ground. as long as everybody's safe, are we providing resources to people that need to do their job? So think about your company, whatever you do. So in that national exercise that we did with the students, I purposely created High Frontiers. It was us. We were doing a space thing because we wanted to highlight the space ISAC. It was a whole political thing. And they created reverse threaded doodle flyers. You may not know this. They're used in thruster assemblies and jet engines. Purposely focused them on that and actually had a conversation with this super bright, experienced network person who was an undergraduate. I'm like, wow, you're so overqualified for this exercise, because they obviously knew a thing or two. And like, but you gotta have computers. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You have to get reverse threaded doodle flyers out the door so that people can build rockets and put things into work. That's what you have to do. And if that's baling wire, string, bubble gum, pixie dust, bombs, I don't care. So think about that. Okay. And this is my last slide before we go to Q&A, and it's, you can play Stump Tom. This is my one really snarky slide. I know I snuck a lot of snark in there. Cyber physical is not a new thing. I have a keyboard on here. When you do voice commands with any one of your devices, you're moving things. So if you want to show me how you've got a mental connection with your device, go ahead, I'll sit here and wait for it. Otherwise, what is new is our understanding that plugging things in requires thought. And I'm going to throw the last one out there, and it may be a joke grenade and maybe a total miss for some folks. Cameras are subsidized sensors. Anybody get what I'm saying there? And if you do, tell me what I'm saying. Go ahead. You're nodding your head.
Well, cameras truly just, they keep track of everything that we do and where we're at. People.
Oh, you mean visually?
Well, I mean,
So they do that,
they
sure.
connect to networks and.
Why are cameras so cheap? And where do they come from? I'm just saying. They come from China.
Countries that are
They're
our
rich.
friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's all open source. I didn't come out of the security department and information facility, and I don't have an active TS. Which, feel free to hook me back up. But I didn't come out of the skit. It's all open source. You can go look it up for yourself. Think about why they are so inexpensive. Steal your line. If the camera is not the product, what's the product? So it isn't really the visual piece, it's the fact that they got that thing on your network. And you probably don't know everything that's in it. And you probably didn't run a secure, stands for secure technical implementation guide. The 142 steps for a laptop or whatever it was. Sorry, I did it at DAA most of the decade. Designated Approving Authority, I was trying not to so think about that. Cyber physical, and I know there's a whole track here, and it should be. But break people out of like it's a new thing. So what does that mean for exercise? Oh, I'm not from my thing anymore. What does that mean for exercises? We could start with having a seminar on, I'm going to walk us up the ladder in HC. We could have a seminar on, is this really a problem here? God, it might just be a problem here. Where do you think it would be? let's have a workshop to figure out how big the impacts are and where they might be. We think it's in these 3 areas. Let's have a leader tabletop to have them set the priorities and explore some of that together and see whether or not our current plans and maybe some of our policy derivatives are taking us where we need to go. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's do a couple drills, maybe a functional, and see whether or not, that we're an operations side, whether these things are working, the rewrites that we did to those things are doing what we want them to do. Now let's put all that together and do a full scale. And oh, by the way, if you do it with just computers, you're wrong, because cyber's not IT. All right, so now it's Stump Tom. Who has a question about, frankly, anything related to cyber exercises and any of the domains I talked about? Bring it.
I got a question, Tom, that's not for you.
Okay.
How many organizations here, show of hands please, have you already identified who in your organization is your cyber incident commander when you have an incident? Got 1, 2, 3, 4, not quite half, but maybe close. Okay, good. That's better than the last time I asked that question.
So we push incident response plans. Sound familiar to the IT folks that might be, and hopefully students, you heard of incident response plans, steps that you do when you go outside of steady state operations. And we talked about resilience, getting back to a normal, right? And in an incident response plan, you define what the normal is. You define is get to here, but you make a decision with a capital D, like a diamond on the flow chart. Make a decision that I am breaking out of steady state, I'm activating resources, emergency management, to go do these things. The problem is, from the IT perspective, is that was so much navel gazing. Who cares about, again, don't care, and I was the CIO, I don't care if the server room is a smoking hole in the ground. Are we deploying soldiers? Are we getting people out where they need to go? Well, yeah. Okay. It was really hard right now. Yes. Yes, it is. So, as you wrap your brain around that, what does that mean? IRPs are navel gazing unless they start getting incident commanders that go, what is the risk to the organizational mission? And you get people that do, I heard you say this when we were talking last night, mission assurance. They're looking at the organization's mission. What are we here for? What are we trying to do? Can we still do that? Yeah, it's really hard. I've got to bring in extra people. I've got to hire temps from this. I've got to do some type of a managed service. I've got to pull myself off of the cloud because they've been owned, or I've got to put stuff onto the cloud because my on-prem services aren't working. Okay, we're going to work through that. See where we're going, and we can think through those things before they happen outside the box using, because we thought about it in an exercise before it actually worked. Okay, bring another one.
So what's the number one thing that you normally see in exercises?
Lack of communication. Same as you guys. Same as you guys. It seriously is. I used to be a consultant, right? And I had a buddy, another buddy, brother from another mother, like Chas, named John Lobdell. And I would come off a new client site, and he'd go, wait, Tom, let me guess. Communication is terrible and the politics are the worst. I go, yeah, how'd you guess? And I'm like, yeah, it's a type 3B. It was one of those things. You get used to it. Probably nobody old enough in this room to remember who Lee Iacocca was. Okay. Revitalized GM, right? He said, when the CEO is sick of saying it, the people on the line, and these are the guys on the line, are just starting to hear it. We have to keep staying in communication. We have to keep discovering it. Because they're not hearing it. Okay, fair enough. Sorry, it's the same one. It's communication. You know, and we run into it over and over. Even, especially, we do a lot of capability maturity model. We're at a lot of 0 and 1s with the people we engage. Sometimes when we work with folks that are a bit more, they're 2s and 3s, then it gets interesting. And they're working on, yeah, we're having a hard time with our threat modeling and our integration with the feeds and the cycling. That's cool. It isn't communication, it's how do I prioritize my filters off of my SOAR or my SIM? That's kind of neat. Yeah, but normally it's just communication. What else we got? Okay, one more. I thought you were ready to ask one question. Okay, one more question, and then we're done. And then come see me. I got stuff on what we do and who we are, because we do other stuff besides our stuff. Come on, we're not that good. Yes, bring it.
Where do you start when your organization has never done this?
What do you do? Would you
Where do
already?
you start?
No. What's your orientation?
Manufacturing.
Okay, manufacturing. Cool. So where I go is I actually go to CISA. It's gonna sound like I'm doing a plug for CISA, and I am, but it isn't because Chad's my buddy. Go to CISA, and they have cybersecurity training and exercise packages. Go pull it down. Come get one of these from me. And then just get a hold of me, because I can just send you a thing and say, come look here. Because I doubt you would engage with us. We're an academic nonprofit. We're really not what you'd be looking for. But go pull down, it's called CTEP. And you can go pull them down and look at it and just do it. So I'm gonna give my last plug about standards. As a CIO, and it's a CIO that's been around for a while that was leading other CIOs, and we'll say, what about this standard, NIST versus ISO, and don't worry about the acronyms. And I go, yes. Like, no, which one? Which one do you have? Well, NIST, everybody's got NIST. I'm like, yes. I'm like, well, which one? Go with that one. Because by the time you start arguing with it, well, obviously you don't need it anymore. So start with that. And what you'll find is you will outgrow that CTEP very quickly, and that's a very good thing. Don't look at it and go, look at it and go, thank you so much for that initial step. There you go. Thank you.